want some sauce?
Scene 1, Apple, take 1.
What's up, everybody? How's it going out there? Today we are going to be making a chili sauce, or a hot sauce, or whatever else you want to call it. In this particular case, I'm going to be making one that you can jar if you want to. I'm going to be putting them into small mason jars, and this is primarily for my wife, and I'm going to be telling you how you can go about making it hotter or whatever a little bit later on down the line. But so first things first, you need a knife, and we need to pick the type of peppers we're going to be using. In this particular case, I'm going to be using jalapenos. I know, jalapeno, but some people actually call them jalapenos. And I got these for a really good price because it was 99 cents a pound. And that is a good price. Some of these actually, I think some of the bigger ones, I'm actually going to end up saving so I can make stuffed jalapenos a little bit later on down the line. Now, jalapeno is probably going to be one of the more mild chilies, so if you're one of the people that like just a little heat, don't go much beyond a jalapeno. Don't go much beyond it. Okay, so I went ahead and I put some away from my stuffed jalapenos, not too many of those. But not only that, but the next one up the line, at least traditionally for me, is a serrano chili. Okay, serranos are hotter. Okay, so this is serrano chilies. They're a little bit more expensive. This might be $1.50 a pound. It depends also where you're located. I'm in Southern California, and if you're going to be in places like New Mexico and Texas and Arizona and Southern California, you're going to have access to a lot of peppers, probably a lot cheaper than if you were in New York or something, just simply because this is where we're growing them. You know, this in Mexico. Now, some people put gloves on, which is not a bad idea, but I'm not really worried about it. I've already eaten a jalapeno to see what the heat level is. These are really mild. Serrano, don't know, but we're going to find out. This tastes like a bell pepper. Okay. Now I'm getting heat. Okay, so I got to there before I started getting heat. I would say that this is about half of a habanero when it comes to the heat. It's tolerable, but it's got that habanero burn, which is different than the jalapeno or the Thai chili or the cayenne. But what's good about these peppers is the first portion of it tastes a lot like a bell pepper. And that's good. That's good, because that's going to end up adding a really good flavor to our hot sauce. Okay, so my mouth is burning now. It's not real bad though. And also, anytime that you do this, okay, I always suggest you take some seeds out and put them to the side, let them dry out a little bit, plant them, and then you can just start growing your own peppers, okay? Instead of going and buying them, you can just go and generally, but just one pepper is going to end up having tons of seeds inside there. Okay, and that's all you'll need. Okay, that's enough right there to start a damn garden. So I'm going to be cutting these up, and I'm going to be throwing these in. I'm going to get rid of the tops. Some people will cook the tops. I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to be throwing them in a fairly large pot. In fact, I'll put it right here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I think after I'm done with these two, I think this is probably going to end up being enough heat for this. I'm not going to, I mean, I've got some more peppers here, but what's the point? Okay, same thing as before. Rough chop will work. This right here, so that's a regular. This is dehydrated onion. Okay, I'm throwing that in there. This is oregano. This is regular ground chili powder, okay? Kosher salt. I think for now that'll be enough. Fresh ground black pepper. Let me move this over here. Fresh ground black pepper. Sorry, I forgot that the pot was off of the screen. Give it a little bit of a smoky. This is chipotle powder, okay, which is a smoked jalapeno. Okay, now this is cumin. I'm not going to get too crazy with that. Garlic. This is just regular old sugar. Now this is something that I always add to my hot sauces like this, and it's ground ginger, okay? Touch of cayenne. Okay, so now we need to put some water in this, put it on the fire. If you want to add some tomatoes to this, you can. This is a glass of vinegar, just regular white vinegar. I'll probably be adding more a little bit later on. But now what we're going to do is we're going to let this come to a simmer. You know what I almost forgot to do, guys? Put some carrots in here. Don't need a lot, but I'm gonna put a little bit of carrots in this. When it's almost done, I'm going to add some cilantro to it. Okay. Some people call it coriander. Here, where I'm from, coriander is the seeds of the cilantro plant. Okay. So don't be splitting hairs, but that should be enough carrots. Okay, so you can see that the peppers have changed color. The onions are starting to become a little translucent, which means that this is doing pretty good. This actually needs to simmer for probably another 30 minutes, believe it or not, at this point. But everything's starting to get soft and everything is starting to infuse, and the smell inside the kitchen is changing. Everything is starting to work out. As soon as this ends up getting a little bit more soft and the onions are a little bit more translucent, that's when I'm going to take my immersion blender here and I'm going to be sticking it aside here, and I'm going to blend everything up real well, and then I'm going to cook it for a little bit longer too. And I'm going to check to see if the flavors are right, if we need to add any salt or anything along those lines. And by the magic of television, we have done that. So put that to the side. You know, and the longer that this cooks, the longer it sets, the better the flavors are really going to develop. Okay, after we put it in a mason jar or in a bottle, and we add a little bit more vinegar to it, that vinegar is going to continue basically the cooking process. Okay, and it'll end up tasting better. So let's get a bit of a taste here. Okay, so I just tasted it, and I can tell it's going to need a little bit more salt to it. I'm not adding too much because it's easy to overdo that. Adding a touch more oregano to this. And we'll give that a few minutes to kind of infuse, and then we'll taste it again. So what I've done is I've already taken some out, and I had put it in a little mason jar for my mother-in-law. Now I can do what I want with this. This is cilantro. I'm putting a handful of cilantro leaves. I try to not put the stems in because the stems a lot of times have a tendency to be bitter. But this will give a nice freshness to it. And that's another reason why I like to add it near the end instead of early on, so it doesn't turn too dark and it doesn't really lose some of that cilantro flavor. But I'm going to give this another minute or so to kind of cook and whatnot. Just to make sure that there's no cooties or nothing like that on the cilantro. And from there I'm going to taste it again. And when I taste it the next time around, I'm really going to be looking for two things primarily. Okay? Actually going to be looking for three things primarily. Okay? Sweetness, saltiness, and acid. Okay? If it's got enough sweetness, don't worry about adding sugar. Okay, if it's got enough saltiness, obviously don't worry about adding salt. How do you know when it doesn't have enough salt? The flavors aren't going to jump out at you. Okay, that's how you know. The flavors aren't going to jump out. And then acid. Acid's going to give that tanginess. okay? And that is something that's really important that you don't want to overlook, because we only put a cup of acid in this to start with, remember? Which really isn't quite enough for this, because essentially we're kind of pickling it, right? So let me kind of give this a stir. But my mouth has got a nice burn going on right now. Let's see here. Try to get all that stuff incorporated a little bit. And I'm going to use the immersion blender one more time before I put it in the mason jar. Now we're cooking. Alright, I'm going to add just a little bit more vinegar to this. Let that come to temperature. And then I can go ahead and start putting this in the mason jars. Okay, because I made so much, I'm going to go ahead and pressure can it, just to make sure that this stuff can sit in the cupboard for years, and I don't have to worry about it ever going bad or botulism or any of that other nasty stuff. So yeah, pressure can, pressure can. And if you want to learn about pressure canning, you can watch my video on pressure canning, right? Canning meats and stuff like that. But that's that, guys. And you know, when you're making your hot sauce, you mix and match. You do it any way that you want. You know, you add what you want, you take out what you want. And as it sits, the flavor is going to change. Okay, so the way it tastes now is pretty good. Okay, it's pretty good. At the end of about a week, it's going to be really good. At the end of 2 weeks, it's going to even be better. Okay, and that's something you have to keep in mind on any time that you're doing something with vinegar and pickling. Anyway, guys, that's that. And until next time, talk to you later.